Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Whenever we talk about Muslims in the West, in Europe, North America, Australia, the following term always comes up: integration. But what does this word actually really mean? For the average Brit, American, Australian, there is no difference between the terms integration and assimilation. I would even say that there is a crippling confusion. Non-Muslims should stop expecting Muslims to transform into them. Both the United States and Canada are immigrant countries with professed immigration policies which are profoundly different. The US has spread the idea of a melting pot where every immigrant on arrival adopts the customs of the significant majority and gives up the original culture, their custom and their faith. In contrast, Canada believes in multiculturalism. Canadian newcomers are even expected to keep their cultural heritage and to enrich their new country, which allows Canada to always be in a state of transition and change. The American way of life is slow, static, and does not accept changes easily. However, it has become a model to strive for. France, Denmark, Germany, Italy, they all support the idea of a process of adaptation for their Muslims, while in Canada, immigrants and Muslims help to form the society. It is assumed that any Muslim is also an immigrant. The belief that Europe is not a continent of immigration, even though the so-called guest workers started to settle in Europe, raise children and acquire European citizenships, allowed the majority population to simply neglect to integrate those people into society. In contrast, they actually accuse the immigrant Muslims of preferring to live in a parallel society rather than wanting to integrate. But what about European Muslim reverts or converts who have embraced the faith and have grown up in these societies? This attitude has more to do with assimilation rather than with integration. Integration is not a one-way street, but involves the person who wants to integrate and the society that is ready to accept this very person. It means that everyone in a given country has a part in the whole, no matter where they come from or which religion they believe in. It involves adding to the existing culture, which in turn transforms and enhances society. Integration is about maintaining identity and belief while being able to celebrate differences and work with others in civic society. Assimilation, however, is an individual decision to adapt. It can be described as the process whereby outsiders, immigrants, or subordinate groups become indistinguishable within the dominant host society, eventually conforming to the existing cultural norms of society. Assimilation simply equals to a loss of cultural, religious, ethnic identity and an expectation of the minority to religiously conform to the norms of the majority. Most Muslims agree to the slogan, "Live and let live," as Allah says in the Quran, "To you be your religion, to me be mine." As a matter of fact, the majority of young Muslims are already integrated. Most third and fourth generation Muslims who were born in Britain have been to school here and live and work in local communities that contribute to society at large. So the critical call to integrate Muslims into our ways, as if our ways, whatever they are somehow better or superior, raises eyebrows. The problem is the confusion of the two terms integration and assimilation. If Muslims want a place in our society, then they should become just like us. So should the Muslims start eating pork sausages, visit the pub and stop prostrating to Allah? Should they even be forced to adapt this lifestyle? But as history has shown us, even complete assimilation doesn't protect minorities from hostility or persecution, as seen in Nazi Germany by the Jews or recently in ex-Yugoslavia by the Muslims. And never will the Jews or the Christians approve of you until you follow their religion. Say, indeed, the guidance of Allah is the only guidance. If you were to follow their desires after what has come to you of knowledge, you would have against Allah no protector or helper. There is a fear going around that every Muslim is on a mission to convert the Western population and to marry the converted Western woman who will increase the Muslim element here with giving birth to Muslim children. This absurd thought goes against Allah, saying there is no compulsion in religion. Of course, a Muslim is obliged to inform the non-Muslim society about Islam, but to leave the rest in Allah's hands. Is the West maybe scared that Islam sounds too reasonable and too logical to its people so that they embrace it willingly and without force? Anyway, the worst thing that Muslims can do is to isolate themselves from society and to create ghettos in urban centers. Unfortunately, some Muslims have gone that way and are living parallel lives in many Western cities. This is another extreme which will be as helpful as assimilating totally into non-Muslim societies and will reach the opposite of integration.